my friends. Welcome to Lean and Clean with Fitness Chef Christine. I am Christine, your host, and today we are joined by a superstar, Sanjay, and he is an ex-MMA fighter, a instructor of martial arts. He founded the team No Excuses Fitness and Nutrition to help children and adults, and you know that helping children is near and dear to my heart. He is a published author. You have to find his book. It's called The Food Talk, and I'll let him tell you more about it. He's a national speaker on nutrition and fitness. And the most important, he has a new TV show coming up. It's very exciting. It's starting in January, I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. And it's called The Recipe for Wellness. He also has a podcast by the same name. So with all that big old windedness, I'll let you take over and you can tell our guests everything. You can tell our audience everything about you. Take it over.
Thanks. Oh, thanks for having me on your show. I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely.
I guess for everybody in the audience who doesn't know me, I can go with a little bit of introduction if you're okay with that. So, very long story, but I'm gonna annotate it for everybody. I was in the medical field for a long time. So if you backtrack even further, I got into med school, but I decided not to go the night before I was supposed to leave because I was doing it for the wrong reasons, honestly. And it was culture, it was family pressure, it was all that. And then instead, I took a hard left turn and went into professional fighting. That's what I decided to do. I was always in martial arts. It always guided me, gave me the focus I needed to achieve my goals. So I said, what better time to do it than now? So I worked my way up in the ranks and then retired at the ripe old age of 26 and realized there's not a big future in it for me because I was only training on the weekends at the time. This was when MMA was in its like early stages. And then I started finding guys who were training 7 days a week, full-time gig. I had a white collar job at the time. I was in pharmaceutical sales actually.
Wow.
And yeah, I would show with black eyes, bloody lip all the time. And
Nice.
it would make for great stories, honestly. People always wanted to know what I was doing. But that being said, I had kids in 2011. So I knew there was a future that is not in MMA, but I could stay relevant and train people if I needed to. So in 2011, my kids were born, twins, boy and girl, and they're
Bless you.
the most important people in my life. And I started my company at the time. It was called Team No Excuses Fitness. And the point of this company was I was always into health and wellness. And I wanted to see how far I could go with it. But it really started because I wanted to clean up my own health and wellness. What people don't realize is when you're an athlete, you actually have a lot of eating issues because you have to eat a certain way, you have to look a certain way, you have to train a certain way. So when you see those athletes on TV who are at the top of their game, NFL players, swimmers like Michael Phelps, people like that, like there was interesting when he was at the height of his powers in the Olympics, he would eat about 10,000 calories a day.
Right. I saw that.
That's what it took. Yeah, that's what it took. But the thing is, though, now you look at the guy, he's still in great shape, but he doesn't look like the way he looked before. And they'll tell you, you go through depression, you go through anxiety, you go through so many things. So what people see on the outside is not what they're feeling on the inside.
Right.
And so I went through that. So I took a long journey to clean up my diet. I had eating disorders. I had all these things that was going on with me. And so I finally cleaned myself up and I felt at a really good place. And so when my kids were born, I said to myself, I went through so many eating disorders. I went through so many issues. I want to start them off on the right foot and make sure they don't go through what I went through. And because information is our most valuable resource and all the information is current. And this is the interesting part, and that is parents can relate to this. At the time I was married and my ex-wife and my wife at the time, she said, I'll do all the feedings and all that. And I said, okay. And so she was getting her information from her parents. And so she was on cruise control. And I said, I'm looking at these snacks she's giving the kids. And I said, there's got to be a better way to do this. And so one day we're sitting down and I was questioning everything. She got really irritated with me. And she said, if you think you could do it better, why don't you take over? And I looked at her, paused for about 20 seconds. I said, you know what? I will. I'll just take over. It's fine. And I took over from that day forward.
Right.
And we started making their own baby food. We started doing all these things, and it was actually more cost effective. And over time, what I realized was they're developing these wonderful habits because I put this in my book I published in 2018. Kids are adventurous eaters by nature. And I do a lot of lectures around the country, and I'm a public speaker. And I always say to parents, I said, this is going to upset you, but I'm going to say it anyways. And that is, no child is born a picky eater. Every time I hear that, I said, take a huge step back and just think about this. What child comes out of the womb a picky eater hating broccoli? No
Right.
such thing. So when I call people out on that, they get really upset with me because what happens, it's a referendum on them. And that is, parents need to take accountability, which is, if you're going out to eat, I see this all the time. My kids have never ordered from the kids menu. I never allowed it.
Junk food.
100%.
Healthy. They never have anything good out there for the kids.
Exactly. My kids have never ordered from the kids menu because it's cheap cuts of meat, it's the French fries, it's the chicken nuggets. And what are you teaching them? You're teaching them, don't try anything new, number one. And two, then when you get home, you're asking them to eat vegetables and broccoli, whatever it may be. They're not going to do it. Whose fault is that? It's not their fault. It's your fault,
Oh, I agree.
right? So I always am pushing the boundaries with my kids, which is I take them to a new cuisine every couple of weeks at a new restaurant for them to try it and see what they gravitate towards. I have no idea. My daughter loves Korean food. She loves it. She'll
Love
eat
it.
kimchi all day. Yeah.
My
My
grandson loves
son,
Japanese food. Loves Japanese food.
yeah, they eat everything. And I like to travel. And at the time when my ex and I were married, we traveled all the time. And the hardest thing for parents to deal with in traveling is, what am I going to feed my kids? I hear this all the time. I can say I can drop my kids off in any country at any time. They will pick up the local cuisine and not complain about it. Just try it.
I love that. And that's such a, I think that parents box themselves in because
Yeah.
they think that their kids won't like it. And it's just easy to go with the accepted kids meal or
Hmm.
whatever. And unfortunately, parents are busy or they're just not really into nutrition. And I also fault the medical field because they don't really educate
Mm.
parents, especially new parents, on what they should do. Or
Yeah.
they're backwards, which makes me insane. I have a
Yeah.
4.5-year-old grandson and a 3-week old, almost 4-week old granddaughter. And some of the advice I hear, I'm like,
Tell people, and I wrote this in my book, I said, I chose to take the path of most resistance up front so
yeah,
that my life would be easier down the road. And that's exactly what's going on. And that's the thing, that is, are you thinking long-term benefits or short-term less headaches,
right.
right? That's what people think is they'll just eat whatever I give them, or I'll throw some fast food at them. And then you expect them to eat healthy down the road. It makes no sense.
I'll be very honest. When my kids were little, I sucked at this because I was a professional baker. I
Mm.
always had pastries and baked goods and homemade bread. And I honestly felt good about it because it was all homemade. It was all from scratch. Except that I was always trying to lose weight. And so my poor kids were subjected to all my crazy. I'm honest, it's the truth. You live and you learn. And this is before
Oh
I learned
yeah.
nutrition. Because in culinary school, you don't learn squat about nutrition. It wasn't until I went through perimenopause and was like, holy crap, pounds are coming on like crazy. Educate myself. You live and you learn. But I love that you're starting with younger people and educating parents, and it's just so important. So tell me a little bit about
Yeah.
the TV show. How's it educating the masses really? What does it do? Tell me everything.
Oh, about the TV show? Yeah. It's interesting. The original idea for the TV show was going to be teaching kids and families on health and nutrition. None of the networks liked that idea, by the way. Nobody liked it. We had to change our message. That's what we had to do. So it evolved from the book, which I wrote in 2018, which was called The Food Talk, A Parent's Guide to Teaching Healthy Habits to Kids of All Ages. And I think you and I talked a little bit offline, but for the audience, I'll share. 2018, Discovery Channel called me and said, hey, we got a copy of your book. We'd love to talk to you about making a TV show out of it. I said, okay, great. Flew us out to LA, kids and I. And now I was divorced in 2018 as well. So I'm being a single dad at that point. And we had essentially met with them. They said, we love the idea. Let's make a show out of this thing. So we're putting pen to paper. And Discovery owns Travel Channel. And Travel Channel is where we were going to be. What ended up happening was Discovery decided to kill the deal because they went to from culinary, travel, and cooking to all paranormal. So that's what they did. And to this day, you'll see it. You'll see all the ghost shows on Travel Channel right now, and I watch them still. So anyhow,
I don't like them at all. I have to be honest. My
I love it. I love that
my
kind of
husband
stuff. I
loves
don't know
it.
why.
They think it's the coolest thing. I'm like,
Yeah. I love it. So then what happened is 2019 rolled around, and my director and I, who's been a great friend of mine, he believed in the show, so he's been with me on this journey. And we had a bite at the apple with Amazon, Netflix. 2020 rolls around, COVID hits, everything shuts down. You know what? I'm a big believer in life happens for you, not to you. So what
Yeah.
that means is that it wasn't right. Wasn't the timing wasn't right. So 2023, nothing is going on. Literally, nothing is going on with the show. And we've just been pushing up against a brick wall the entire time. Somehow, a friend goes, "Hey, I got this contact at public television in Tampa, Florida. Did you want this contact? Maybe they'd be interested in your show." I said, "Yeah, let's do it." Send the book over, get a call back immediately. They said, "This is the content we're looking for." And
Awesome.
immediately we start the discussions. Now, January 2023, nothing's going on. Mid-January, excuse me, mid-year 2023, we're starting to talk. And by October, we signed a deal with them to produce content for them to create the show. And now it's about getting a team together, getting the production going. So I was trying to figure out how we're going to do this, right? And now it's all about getting the right funding in place.
Right.
So then everything about life is timing.
Fine
I'm not
intervention.
a,
Someone
yeah,
looking out for you.
I'm not a social media guy. And my kids can tell you I am so not social media friendly.
That's what
But
kids
the one
are
thing, yeah, I know, right? But
for.
the one thing I was very good at was on LinkedIn because it's more a professional network, right? So I just started building content on LinkedIn, just posting, just getting my name out there. I was doing a lot of podcast interviews. I was still speaking on stages. I was still doing all those things. And what happened is somebody reached out to me on LinkedIn, who's now our executive producer. And she said, "Listen, can we talk a bit more about this program?" I said, "Yes." We talked to her, developed a good working relationship, and she decided to come on board. And then from the time we signed her to join our show, which was in November of 2023, within 3 months, we got the show fully funded. And then after that, we filmed the entire season one, got it done in September of 2024. We've been basically going through the production process, QC, and now it's going to launch season one in January 2025. And we're in pre production for season two. So that's how quickly things can happen.
Exciting. It's so exciting. And tell me a little bit about the TV show itself. I know what inspired you to create it because you have the book. How does it cut through some of the noise? I mean, there's so much misinformation about nutrition out there. And I know you said
Yeah.
that elements of travel and everything. And for me, I've dumbed down my nutrition so much that I could eat anywhere without a problem. But there's so much out there. Eat more fat, go. There's just every expert you talk to, and hundreds of nutrition classes, and none of them agree. It just makes me crazy.
Yeah, so I'll give you a little story on that one. That is, we named our production company Disruptive Productions for a reason to produce the show, because we want to disrupt the way people think about health and wellness.
Mhm.
And this is with my company, Team No Excuses Fitness. That's what I do all day is basically cut through the BS and give the real information and let you make your decision based upon that. So
Like,
that's what we wanted to do. So what we do is that I loved one of the inspirations for my TV show was Anthony Bourdain, No Reservations, when he was on TV. I
oh,
love that.
he-
He ate very unhealthy. He tried everything, ate very unhealthy. But the thing is, he was a great storyteller.
yeah,
That's the thing that really attracted me to his show. So I talked to my director. I said, let's be different about how we do things. Because what we found is that when you talk to people through the camera and you're trying to educate them, a lot of people feel like you're talking down to them. And it
right.
gets very boring. And I'm one of those people. I'm one of those people. I don't want to be talked down to or be educated. What we did was very different. And this is the reason why we got so much traction was we shared stories through storytelling by going to a particular location, looking at the local cuisine, the culture, and then we brought in these experts who are disrupting the way people look at health and wellness, but it's grounded in science.
I can't wait.
And yeah, and we don't bring on a bunch of talking heads who are like medical doctors who are like, "Oh, do this and this." And I said, "I'm not going to listen to you. I
Right.
really am not." Funniest part is most doctors don't know anything about nutrition anyways.
Okay, so this is my biggest. I could talk all day long about that. When I was in perimenopause, I went to the doctor. They're like, eat less, move more. I'm like, I'm a fitness instructor. I can't move anymore. I'm not gonna be able to. I teach 3 classes in a row. I'm eating like I'm eating
Yeah.
exactly what they tell you to eat, and nothing is working. And they're like, you're probably just eating too many calories. I'm like, I'm not. I track every macronutrient, and it was making me crazy. And until I
Yeah.
stopped listening to them, and still I started doing my own research, nothing changed.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I realized that in the healthcare system in the United States, you have to be your own patient advocate. You have to be.
Sure.
Nobody's going to do it for you. And here's the thing. In the medical field, on that side, I'm really well versed in that side because I was in pharmaceutical sales. I also did medical sales. So I knew these guys very personally. They're not taught nutrition, they're taught pharmacology.
Right.
And here's an interesting stat, and that is doctors are judged on what are called patient satisfaction scores at hospitals. So what happens is what they found was more than 85% of patients gave a doctor an unfavorable rating if they didn't walk out with a script.
Yeah, we have a systemic problem. It goes in circles. You can't get anything but a
Mm-hmm.
prescription. You can't get any real information, but then all people want to go for is a prescription.
Yes.
It makes me crazy.
So, yeah. So, our job in doing what we're doing is that we want to give a voice to the voiceless. We want to create a movement, not just a TV show, which is it's turned into a movement now because we have so many people coming in saying, you know what, I've helped so many people doing X, Y, and Z. It's grounded in science, but this is stuff that I don't get to talk about.
Right.
And so we give a voice to what perfect example I'll give you is this amazing lady. We went to Toronto for one of our episodes and we met this doctor. Her name is Dr. Helene Bertrand. You're going to get to know her really well when we launch the show.
Fantastic.
She is a part of the Royal Canadian Pain Society, big medical group. And she joined this group because she's a medical doctor and she had a way to cure lower back pain without medication through stretching.
Right.
She
And they
told this amazing story. No, she told this amazing story. She jumped on these Zoom calls, and all these doctors were on the talking heads. They're saying, let's do the protocol where we prescribe this, prescribe that. She said, hold on a minute. I've got this stretch. And they said, we don't want to talk about that right now.
because they're not making money.
They're not. And so what happened is when she got off the call offline, they talked to her and said, you cannot bring that up again. Now, this woman is amazing because she's like in her 80s and she bucks the system all the time. She's young, she's vibrant. You would
My
never
favorite.
think this 80-year-old woman could do this, but she does all this stuff, which is amazing. So, without giving away the episode, I'll just tell you this, and that is she left, she got kicked out of the Canadian Pain Society. And she goes, this is the quote that she said to me that just stuck with me. She goes, once I got kicked out of that society, guess what? Now I can start practicing medicine.
Yeah, it's like freedom. You can just say what you can say what's the truth.
Yeah. And she helps so many people just with this one stretch. She showed it to me. I integrated into my own stretching regimen. I still train some clients here and there, and they all come back to me and say, I feel like $1,000,000.
You're gonna have to show me eventually because I'm dealing with some leg neuropathy, even though I teach
Mm-hmm.
and I'm crazy busy. Every night my legs are cramping up all night long. It doesn't matter if I take a leg,
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I mean, I've tried everything. It's just
Yeah.
crazy. Some doctors are like, it's just menopause. Some doctors, you need to stretch more. I'm like, my gosh, I can't spend any more time stretching. Like, okay. So I need to
Well, yeah, and I'm happy to share think about this though. And that is, and I don't want to give a blanket statement, but this is what I've seen is most doctors you look at, you say, I'm going to take advice from this person.
yeah. You look at the health ministers in different countries and you're like, holy crud, I'm not taking that person's advice. Say, if the government tells you, do the opposite. Look at the
Yeah.
food. No. You know, oh my
Yeah.
God.
And my mindset and the mindset of the show is that right now, like in the States, inflation, cost of food is so expensive. Everything's so expensive right now, right? And I always ask people that I train individually, I said, I'm going to ask you one simple question. And this will give you your answer, which is, do you want to allocate your money and resources towards medication or food? What do you want to choose? Pick one. And they say food, of course. I said, okay, there's a way to do that. All right. You just have to be dedicated to the process. Now, I get it. In certain conditions, you have to have medication. Totally get it. But a lot of the stuff which is obesity derived,
You can change.
you can change it. It's in your power.
Yep.
So this is the choice people are having to make right now. And hopefully they're going to make the right choice, which is invest in yourself, less on doctor visits.
I could play you on repeat with that statement. Food, medication. I could play it on repeat because people don't understand the power of good nutrition. And that's why I started the podcast, because if somebody had told me what to do when I first started in perimenopause, I would have stopped wasting time for so long. It would have been made a world of difference.
But
But
but this is the other part of this, and that is, do you realize, and this is, part of being in the nutrition fitness industry and being a trainer for so many years is I was a counselor too, because this is so personal to people
Mhm.
that you're really letting them into their little secret world. And I've heard every story out there. Some are really crazy and some are the most common ones, but I've heard it all, which is amazing considering the amount of misinformation on TV and marketing, what people believe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you follow the money, if you follow the money, you'll know where all that comes
Hmm.
from. And what I
Yeah.
love about what you're doing is you're not just doing a narrow focus, you're showing people in different countries and different ways of doing it and bringing them on that journey with you. That's absolutely, I can't wait for it. Tell me again where we can find the show. Like when it comes.
So yeah, we are in a really unique spot, and that is we're going to be nationwide on public television stations and PBS.
Okay.
So we're going to be all over the country. And then we also have our own streaming channel that's coming out as well in January.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got that opportunity as well. And without giving it away, obviously, and I can't really say too much, but we
Yeah.
hired a new member of our team, and her sole job is to basically get us on different platforms. And she came on board to our team willingly because she saw the value of it. And so we're in negotiations to get on different, even bigger streaming platforms, which we can't talk about until we actually do it. But that is coming down in 2025 as well.
All right. You better keep in touch with me so I can watch it.
Yeah,
If you don't mind, I'd like to share my screen for a minute and just show people
please.
your website. It looks, and I am so sorry. I'm not super tech savvy. So sometimes that annoying beeping comes up. I don't know why. I can't seem to shut it off. But hang on one sec, because I
Yeah,
want
no worries.
to show people your website so they know that where they can find you. And I'm going to link it below. But let's just
Yeah,
move this out of the way. Okay, here it is. Recipe for Wellness, coming January 2025. So people can go here and they can find it. You can click the
absolutely.
to stay updated. So like we
Hmm.
get to be in the know. And if you look,
Yes.
you get to read more about you and more about your team and what you're doing. And I just can't wait. I'm really excited for this. So I'm just going to stop the share, but I wanted people to see it because
Yeah.
then we know what to look for. We know what we're.
We just added this, which is what I've been working on, which is we just recorded probably about 10 different interviews for the podcast for the show. Podcast name is Recipe for Wellness. You're going to find the links on the website, which you just showed on myrecipeforwellness.com.
I'll
So I
put.
just uploaded, yeah, I just uploaded the first episode on the podcast. And one of our first guests is crazy. I met this man because I do a lot of leadership development training. I
Mhm.
do that as well. And
Easy
this
guy.
guy, without giving it away, his name is Navy Bob. And our first episode, if you were to think of a Tom Clancy novel, this is the guy because he held the nuclear football for a former president of the United States. He was a Navy sub commander. And so this guy talks about leading with love, which is not something I expected from a hard military veteran.
Right.
And it's a great interview. Check it out on the podcast. And we're going to be on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, all the major podcast streaming channels as well.
Got it. I love it. All right. And I believe I found it. So I'm going to subscribe right now. Got it. If I don't do something in that moment, it might. It's tricky. But I'll put all the
Yeah,
links in the show notes so people will be stay updated with you and
absolutely.
follow the show and all that good stuff. So now I want to ask you, like over the years, has your
Hmm.
nutrition changed? You went from
Oh
fighting
yeah.
MMA, so that you were really active and everything, and then you have kids and you're running after them, but you're not quite in the same level as fighting. So,
No, it's a great question. I would tell you that my workouts have changed completely.
mhm,
So when I was in MMA and I was doing it, I was probably 225 pounds. I was fighting at heavyweight,
right,
right? And I was big, I was giant, but the problem was I was hurting inside a lot. I was compression my joints, and then I dropped weight classes, then I dropped again, then I dropped again. So right back then I was 220-ish, now I'm 170. And I do a lot of what's called isometric training now. This way I train a lot of my clients, which is using your own body weight against you.
right,
And you can go to the gym, you can still do that. But what I realized was, what is my why? And I always ask my clients this: are you training to be a professional athlete? Are you training to play with your kids? Are you training for longevity? What are you training for? You should have a purpose.
I want to keep up with my grandkids.
There you go. And that's a common answer. So perfect. I'll backtrack a little bit. I just went to Kansas for Thanksgiving. That's where I'm originally from, is I lived there for 17 years and I've got so many friends there still. And it's interesting. I saw a lot of my friends and all of them are the same age as me and they all are injured. One tore his Achilles tendon playing soccer with his son. One, his elbows are locked. He had to get surgery because he's playing too much basketball. So I'm watching this and I said, wow, our training is on point. You know why? Because it's for longevity. It's not for being glamorous. It's not for doing this and that. So I always ask people, I said, okay, you can bench press 500 pounds. That's great. I'm proud of you. Okay. But guess what? How's that serving you down the road as you get older?
Absolutely.
How is that serving you? And that's what people really need to ask themselves. What is my why? What's the long-term goal of staying healthy?
I mean, I'll tell you, like I'm 57, right? So my goal has changed as the years have gone by. My goal now is to be the most active into my old age as I can be. I don't want to have a broken hip. I don't want to fall down and break my knees. I want to be active and healthy. And most of my community is that way. They're all just trying to just be the best they can be at their 90-year-old self. Not today,
Yeah.
not to fit in a bikini, but to be the best active old lady we can be. You know?
Yeah. No. And not to throw anybody under the bus or anything, but I showed up at Thanksgiving and stuff like that, and I'm looking at people just nursing these injuries, and I said, I think I'm doing pretty good right now. Yeah, it's like, I used to be able to bench press 400 pounds. Can I do that? No anymore. But is that important to me? No. But can I do, how many pull-ups can I do in a row? I can do 100 pull-ups in a row. No problem. Done.
I can't do that, but I'm getting there.
Yeah. No, that's the thing.
But I can
That's the
lift
thing. It's
down weight.
yeah, and that's the thing. And so I do a lot of corporate health and wellness too. So I work with big companies around the country and around the globe. And here's an interesting fact, and that is if you look at how healthcare companies and medical insurance test you, it used to be based upon your BMI
Right.
so that they could determine insurance rates, right?
Right.
It's not BMI anymore. Guess what it is? Most people don't know this. It's based on grip strength now.
Really?
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
not know that.
So it used to be BMI, then cardiovascular health, then muscle strength, which was in the right direction. Now it's grip strength. Here's what they found, and that is people who have good grip strength, on average, are able to have better longevity because they have a little bit more muscle mass. That doesn't mean you have to be a bodybuilder. It just means your strength to weight ratio is really good.
Right.
And if you could do one or more pull-ups, an actual pull-up, by the way, you're
Right.
doing better than 90% of the population.
Wow. Yay me.
I always tell people, I'm like, you know what? I want you to be strong. I want you this, but let's make our goal doing at least 1 to 5 pull-ups. I've got a client. I train a lot of the golfers at Champions Gate in Florida. These are retired CEOs. These are people who just want to enjoy their life, and golf is their passion, right? And one of my clients, I've been training him for 2 years, and he went from when I saw him to zero. Now he's in his 70s doing 10 pull-ups. He could do it. You could do this at any age.
And that's what I love. I love that it's not age specific because there's a lot of people that get started late in life. I teach water fitness and generally an older population during the cold months, and during the summer months, I teach outdoors, a lot of younger population. But I have 93-year-old ladies in the pool, busting a move. They're going and going. And that just makes my heart happy because someday that's
Yeah.
gonna be me. And I just look at them and they get up there early in the morning, get out there. I'm like, yes, yes. More of that than the
Yeah, it's about thinking about the long game, not the short game.
yes.
Yeah, so that's what I always tell people. That is, think about your why you're doing what you're doing. And I also see people go to the gym and go through the motions. So are you actually there? That's what I want to find out, which is, are you actually engaged in what you're doing or just trying to get it out of the way?
No, I get it. I'm
So
about 90% there. You know? I have sometimes my brain's, oh, I gotta do this and I gotta do this and this. At least to get it done. But
real quick, and as you mentioned, you're a chef, right?
uh-huh.
Okay, so this is the other part of the thing, other part of my life that I really embraced, which was I realized when I wrote the book that I can make all the healthy recipes in the world, but if they don't taste good, what's the point? I'm not going to eat it. So I cook on the show, and we got feedback from the network saying, season 2, we want you to cook more. I said, okay, fine, we could do that more. So what I did, I started out this way. That is, I tested my theories on healthy cooking and tasting good at my kids' birthday parties when they were younger. So what happened is I would host these birthday parties and the kids would expect all this cakes and stuff.
Yep.
I would do it, but I did healthy versions of it. So I made like a chocolate cake made from avocado one time. I
Yeah.
did lemon squares with a sugar substitute that's much healthier than regular sugar. So I did all this stuff. And the amazing part was the mothers who showed up, they said, "This is amazing. Can we have the recipe?" And I gave it to them. And they said, "You didn't use the traditional ingredients." I said, "No, didn't have to." So I always tell people
I love it.
there is a healthy alternative for everything. And so that's what we show on the show, which is you'll see me cooking. I'll be 5 different versions of pizza, all these different things that people want to eat. We just got to make it taste good, but it can still be very healthy.
Absolutely. And I do a lot of that on the podcast too. We have episodes where I just go through and remake desserts. I'll
Yeah.
eat things like monk fruit or whatever the case may be, but just a healthier alternative so that they're not feeling like they can't have anything, but that they're still feeding their guts and their happiness inside. So,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
because I know myself too, I have to make adjustments or I'm just not going to be, there's fueling your body. And then there's every once in a while you need that little burst of love. Just don't want it to be a healthy burst of love.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow. So it starts in January, the show. Yes.
January. So yeah, we're going to be doing the launch in January 2025. So what's going to happen is that each affiliate around the country, so PBS and public television has affiliates all around the country. They're going
Right.
to start picking it up, and so it's going to grow every month. So we're going to get a report saying this affiliate's going to carry it every month. And the good news is that we got some feedback from our distributor who showed it to some of the affiliates, the biggest ones. They love the idea for this new generation, and so they're excited to carry it.
Can I just say that I'm in awe of your perseverance because not everybody has the will to keep putting it out there and keep trying to get it in TV land and everything. That's really something awesome, and you should be so proud. And it's so needed. Just
And this is the interesting part of this journey has been that not only has it helped me grow as an individual, I've always had the mentality that I guess I'll backtrack. That is, my kids love superheroes, right? They absolutely love them. My son's a big Marvel fan, and I always tell my kids, I said, I am no superhero. I am not the smartest, the richest, the fastest, the strongest, but the thing that I have that I think I call my superpower is I just don't give up.
determination is a huge superpower.
And I said that's why I love Captain America. Is he's not the strongest in the Marvel universe, but the thing he has over everybody else is he never gives up.
I love that. All right, so we have
Yeah.
18 days before we get to January, right?
Yeah.
Soon. If you could give someone one piece of advice towards their good health between now and the new year, so they have 18 days, can you just give a little slice of good advice for them?
Yeah. I'm always about the why. So here's what I always ask people, and that is when you're trying to embark on improving your health, the first step in that process is understanding what's the end goal, right? And that's the reason why I see so many people fail on diets because number one, diets are unsustainable. And
Right.
number two, you're getting to a short-term goal, but then you fall off the wagon and then you feel like you got to restart the whole process and they get on the yo and they're like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Right.
Yeah, and I get that. So, first question is, what are you trying to accomplish? Are you trying to lower your A1C if you're diabetic? Are you trying to lose weight so you can get out and walk more with your kids? What are you trying to accomplish? Just know your why. There's no wrong answer there. That's number one. Number two, once you know what your why is, start small. People think that they have to basically go, okay, I got to go all or nothing. Doesn't
Right.
work that way. As we get older, it becomes much harder to lose weight versus when we were younger. That's just a fact of life.
Yeah.
So for me, what I do is it's not that I basically deprive myself. I don't do that. Small little changes aggregate over time
Mhm.
and create big wins. So here's the analogy I give people. And that is you go to the gym, right? Go first day in the gym. Are you going to see any changes? Nope. You go to the gym for 1 week. Are you going to see any changes? Maybe. I don't know. You go to the gym consistently over a month after 30 days, are you going to see some changes? Yes, you will. So persistence is the key. Don't expect short-term results for a long-term process. Don't expect that. Okay? Just be realistic. about what you're trying to accomplish in the time frame you're giving yourself. So know your why, number one. Number two, make small changes, which is number one, drink more water throughout the day. That's a small change you could do.
Thank you. My
There
water.
you exactly. You know what? Eat breakfast every morning.
Yes, I'm a big believer in that because I wake up so hungry.
Yeah.
In the phase of everybody doing intermittent fasting, if I'm going to give up a meal, I'd rather give up dinner because in the morning I am teaching and I'm running and I'm so hungry, and if I get hangry, nobody wants to
Yeah.
do.
Oh no. And the data supports this, which is it shows that what happens, people who don't eat breakfast are far more likely to have blood sugar spikes than people who do. So you can still I do my intermittent fasting between dinner and breakfast the next morning.
Yeah, me too.
So it's the easiest process because I'm sleeping through that process, and then I wake up super hungry. And the best part about eating consistently is over time, once you start dropping the weight, you can eat more to lose more weight.
Yeah,
That's what people don't realize.
you're right. There's a more important reason for me not to intermittent fast too long because then I'll stab somebody and I'll end up in jail.
I know,
Yeah.
exactly. I get it. I get it. Yeah, so that's the thing. Drink more water, get enough sleep, eat breakfast. And here's the thing. This is in a book I wrote, and I still tell clients this right now, which is we're in the holidays. The holidays are what I call the landmine months, meaning you're going to step on something, meaning Christmas, Thanksgiving. And I always tell all my clients, they freak out. They'll call me and they say, "Can I eat this?" I said, "Thanksgiving, Christmas dinner, New Year's, whatever it may be, enjoy it. Just have fun. But here's what you need to do. Be disciplined enough leading up to those days where then when you can enjoy that day, you don't have all this guilt that you've been cheating for 3 weeks straight, right? Just fear of guilt is what drives most people to stop because they're like, oh, I'm so guilty. I feel so guilty. Don't do that.
Right.
Small little habits turn into discipline, and discipline becomes a part of your life. So we always say, let's do a lifestyle change. Let's not do a diet.
100%. We talk all the time on here about micro habits. You don't need to change everything in one day. You can take it step by
Yeah.
step. You'll be much better off because you're not going to be overwhelmed.
Yeah. 100%.
You know?
So the basics in life, I say control the controllables, which is your work ethic. If you could get a workout in, drink more water, sleep, eat breakfast, control all that. Everything else is out of your control. So focus on the stuff you can't control.
Yeah, I love it. Perfect advice. I really super appreciate you being here, and I will hope you'll keep in touch with me. I'm going to
Yes.
get that word out there. I'm going to put all the links in the show notes so that everybody knows where to find the show and your book, and just keep in touch with you on LinkedIn, all the good places. And I look forward to seeing all that you're doing and watching the show. And I really appreciate you taking the time to be here today. And I
No,
know,
thank you so much. Yeah, I really appreciate the time you having us on the show, sharing our message and spreading it to your audience.
oh, it's a great message for the audience. I can tell you because I know my people and they're wonderful and they're going to really hear your message. So I just hope you have a great rest of the weekend and I truly
Yes.
appreciate you. If you'll just hang on for 1 second, I am
No
going